Hello everyone. Today I wanted to talk about some SQL commands. So in the next few minutes, we'll cover the basics and get you comfortable writing your first SQL commands. Let's jump in. So what does SQL stand for? SQL stands for Structured Query Language. And this is the language that data analysts, data engineers, data architects use to communicate with databases. It is how we retrieve, update, and manage data in relational databases. For today's demonstration, we'll be using the SQL Management Studio. And this is a SQL editor. We have other editors like the MySQL Workbench or even an online SQL sandbox that you can use. We'll be using a database called TeachingDB. And the TeachingDB database has 4 tables in it. We have the customers table, the order details table, the orders table, and the products table. If you don't currently have SQL Server Management Studio installed on your machine, please check the description box below for a link to a demonstration I have on my channel where I show you how to set up this environment as well as create this database and the tables in the database. The SQL commands that we'll be looking at today are select, where, order by, insert, update, and delete. When you first connect to the server, you need to make sure that you are in the right database. And the use command helps you select the correct database. So in this instance, we want to use the teaching DB. So we would highlight the use teaching database and click on execute to change the database from the master database to teaching database. And you can also select the correct database by clicking on this drop down arrow and selecting the correct database. Before we go further, let us see what we have in these tables. And to do that, we want to count the number of records in these tables. So for the first one, we're counting the number of records in the customers table. So I would say select count, and this asterisk sign means count all from customers table. When you click execute, you see that we have 3 records in the customers table. Let's do the same for the products table. And there are also 3 records in the products table. We'll do the same for the order details table. There are 3 records in the order details table. And then for the last table, we have 2 records. Moving on, we use the select statement, like I said, to get data from tables. Let's see the records that we have in the customers table. So we say select all from customers. If we execute this, we see all the records in the customers table. There are 3 records, and these are the columns in that table. You can also come to this left pane and expand the customers table to be able to see the columns in that table. And here you can see we have the customer ID, the first name, the last name, the email address, and the phone number. These are the columns that you have in the customers table. The icon here, the key icon here, shows that the customer ID is the primary key for this table. And the primary key is a column that uniquely identifies the records in that table. All right, so the first command was selecting all. This symbol means that we're selecting all the columns from the customers table. What if we just wanted a few columns from the customers table? We will need to specify the columns that we want. So in this case, we just want to see the customer ID, the first name, and the last name. So if we go ahead and run this command, we'll see that we only have those columns that are in the select statement. We're no longer seeing the email address and the phone number of these customers in our results pane here. If we do the same for the products table, we'll say select star or select all from products. And these are the 3 records in the products table. Again, you can go to this left pane and expand the products table to see those columns that are in the table. And if we wanted to select only a few columns from this table, we would choose the columns that we want to see. In this instance, we're choosing product name and price. So if we run this, we have only those two columns that we've specified in our results. Let's move on to talking about where. And this is what we use to filter our data. So we want to select all from customers, but we want to limit our results to only the customer with the customer ID equals 3. So if we run this command, you see that we only have one record because there's just one customer with the ID 3. If we look at the customers table again, you see that we have customer ID 1, 2, and 3. So we can change this to say we want to view only the customer with the ID 2. And if we run this, you see that we have just one record with that ID. We can also filter by another column. So let's say we want to filter, we have the customers, but we want to see the records where the first name is Jane. And so if we run this, we have only that record where the first name is Jane. We can also change this up to be where the last name is. Hold on a second. Let me get all the records from the table, and we want to see where the last name is Johnson, for example. So we'll pull this last name from the last name column and then filter by that last name. And that would give us the result that we're looking for. We could also use SQL operators to select multiple values. For example, if we wanted to select records where the product name is laptop or the product name is tablet, we would use the OR operator. And then if we run this, we'll see that we have the records where the product name is laptop and the product name is tablet. We could also use the IN operator to simplify this filtering. So we're looking at selecting all the columns from products table where product name in laptop or tablet. So the IN operator is used in this instance instead of OR. We could also use the equals operator here. So if we select all from the products table where the stock quantity equals 15, would get this result where the stock quantity is 15. We could also look at other SQL operators like greater than, and this would give us all the records where the stock quantity is greater than 15. In this instance, there's just one record with stock quantity equals 25, which is greater than 15. And we could combine operators in this manner where the stock quantity is greater than or equals 15. And that would give us the records that meet that filtering. Other ones are between, like, and we've seen in before. If we wanted to look at between, we'll say we want to select all from products where stock quantity is between 10 and 15. If we run this, we would get the values where the stock quantity is between 10 and 15, both numbers inclusive. The order by statement is used for sorting results. So if we have our customers and we do order by first name, then we have this sorted in descending order. The default is ascending order. So you can see that the first names are sorted in ascending order. If you wanted to change that and you sort by descending order, that's DESC for descending, then you'd have it sorted in descending order. If you wanted to specify that this should be in ascending order, it would be ASC, and you have it like this. Let's try that for an integer column. Let's say with customer ID, we sort customer ID in ascending order, and then you have it sorted this way. You could also sort this in descending order, and you have the reverse of that. So that's how you sort your results, either in ascending or descending order. Okay, let's do insert. Say you wanted to insert a new customer into the customers table. You would write the statement insert into customers, and you specify columns that you want the data inserted into, and you enter the values for those columns. So this first value would be for first name. The last name would take up the Paul value. The email address would have this value, and the phone number would have this value. So if we go ahead and run this, you get a result that you have one row affected. That just means that you've inserted one row into the customers table. So if we go ahead and do a select all from customers, you would see that we have a fourth record here. Let's go ahead and insert one more record. But instead of having all of the columns, let's just insert the customers, let's just insert values to the first name, last name, and email address. So if we go ahead and run this query and we select all from customers, you'd see that we have a fifth customer, and we did not specify a phone number for that customer. To be able to update this table so that this customer has a phone number, we would use the update statement. So we're updating the customers table and we're setting the phone number to this value. Don't forget your filter, don't forget your where condition. Otherwise, if you run this, then you would set all these values to this number, this phone number, because you have not indicated where you want SQL Server to make that change. So you'd want to use the primary key to specify which customer needs to be updated. In this case, the customer ID is the primary key, and the person you want to update the phone number for is the customer ID 5. So you'd include this condition, and then when you run this, this would affect one row, which is the row customer ID 5. So if you look at this, if we run the same query to get the records in the customer table, you see that that record has been updated. So that's how you insert new records, and that's how you update existing records in the table. Let's say we wanted to remove this record, Paul, from our table, our customers table. So you would delete from customers. And again, don't forget your condition, because if I run this, I would delete the entire records from this table. You want to be very careful not to do this, especially in production server. So the condition we're going to use here is where last name is Paul. Now be careful of this too, because you want to make sure that you only want to delete the record that you're supposed to delete. If you have 4 people with last name Paul, they will all get deleted from the customers table. So a better way to do this would be to use a primary key where you know that that is a unique identifier for that record. So you would, instead of using the last name, you would delete if I can type, you delete from customers where customer ID is 4. So if we run this, because we have just one call, this will work. But then if we also do this, this will work because this is a unique identifier here, and it will identify that this is a record that we're looking to delete. So this would be a better way to write it. So you're sure, just in case you have other records, like I said, with um, last name call. So let's go ahead and run this one instead. And now, if we select from the table, you'd see that we no longer have Paul in the customers table. All right, I hope you found this useful. In future videos, we'll be looking at more SQL commands to help you with the basics of SQL programming. I'll see you next time. Bye.